Well, it's getting very close to sunset, which is a special time or a special thing in these parts. People that are food fasting, water fasting, they're getting ready to eat, to drink, and not be merry. A little bit of a different perspective from a Western perspective. And this lasts for 1 month, so every day for 1 month people get to enjoy this. One of the reasons actually for fasting, everybody knows by now, physiologically, decreasing the number of calories that you consume is good for the body, and human beings are naturally akin to kind of naturally adapted to being this way. And to do this for 1 month, it allows clarity and some reflection maybe. By adding in the water fast, this causes even more physiological stress. So why water fast? Because it's not good for the body particularly, but it's good for the mind. There's part of the brain called the hypothalamus, and it's very, very primitive part of the brain, developed well before the cortex, the top part of the brain that allows us to abstract, among other things. But the hypothalamus is responsible for basic stuff like hunger response, the response for the requirement for sex, basic foraging behavior is initiated and controlled by the hypothalamus. In fact, if you remove the entire cortex, you see that the animal can still forage and looks, to all intents and purposes, very normal. But so the hypothalamus. So what happens is this hunger response is heightened, obviously, and the thirst is heightened, activates the hypothalamus. And in the past, one of my thinkings is, in the past we really only had the hypothalamus and the other primitive parts of the brain. We didn't have this cortex and the neocortex and whatever. These primitive parts of the brain only really allowed us to think of the present, and we couldn't really store much in the way of memory. And of course we couldn't abstract, so we couldn't really think of what might happen in the future based on what we've done in the past, if you know what I mean. So by activating our hypothalamus, we kind of, like nature, our natural tendencies take over, and this allows us to live very much in the present and not think too much about what's happening in the future. So it allows greater reflection by putting our bodies and our minds under this physiological stress, and it's a very natural thing to do. So, I mean, it's worth considering what other cultures do, because there's often reasons why people en masse do what they do. And if this has been happening for so long, the question is why?